Okay, so I was going to make this tutorial here for those of you who are interested in Photoshop. I am waiting on some food I was making to cool down before I can really go to sleep. So I thought, well, I'll make this tutorial here. But this is the pen tool, and it is actually one of my least favorite tools in Photoshop until recently. And that is because I used to use Adobe Illustrator, and the pen tool there just seems like it was a whole lot better. And the pen tool here is it just doesn't seem like it fit into how I was used to other tools working. Like, it makes what's called a path rather than a selection, and I had no idea how to make that work to my advantage, or just a bunch of different things. So it was also hard to use at first, but it has since become one of my best Photoshop friends, and I use it literally every single day for making selections that would be otherwise really difficult with like a lasso tool. So it is a little bit more difficult to use, like I said, but I'm going to show you how to do it and hopefully make it a little bit easier, and kind of go over some of the benefits of it rather than a lasso tool. So I guess in order to really fully explain that, I'm going to show you first how the lasso tool works and then go from there. So let's see, we'll come right over here to the lasso tool, and this is what I used to do when I would make a selection. I was actually really quite lazy with it. You just take the lasso, and I'm using a Wacom Cintiq, so I'm drawing right on my monitor, but even with my hand, like actually doing the work of this drawing, um, you can see it's still not perfect. Like, look at this. You can see, and this is a low-res image as well, so there is a lot of pixelation and squaring that you can see happen here that you would hopefully not have in an ideal image. But you can see these marching ants are designating what I have selected, and then everything that's above that area is obviously not. So this area here within this circle is my selection, and it's horrible. Like, got these jittery edges here, and if I want to adapt or change my selection, I can either use the Alt key to remove a portion like this here that I currently have selected. Don't want that, so I can use Alt, or I can use select. Sorry, not select. I can use Shift to get stuff that I missed the first time around. But even doing that, you can still see, like here, see there's red pixels right there that I missed, and it's just really time consuming to go back and like try to re-hit those little areas to make perfect selection. The other thing is, if you're working in like with a person or somebody, like I do a lot of fashion retouching, so I work with people a lot, and I might have to like hit different areas that aren't all right next to each other like this. And inevitably, what I do, well, first of all, if you want to do that, what you have to do is hold um, Shift, and then you would select, like, say over here. And so now I have this area selected as well as this area here, and all of this is not. I cannot tell you how many times in my life I have forgotten to like hold Shift, or I accidentally let it go, and then everything I select was undone. So that's such a pain, and it just forces you to waste a lot of time on things. So that's kind of, the lasso tool has its place. I'm not saying the pen tool completely replaces it, certainly not. But for really advanced selections or things that you're going to have to revisit later, pen tool is definitely going to be your go-to guy. And so I'm going to show you now how to work that instead. If you want to use your pen tool, you can either come over here and select it in the menu, or you can hit the P key. P is a lot faster, and I just recommend learning shortcuts if you're going to be doing a lot of Photoshop work, because it is much more efficient. So basically, the pen tool works with arcs. So you click on a point, and then you would click on another point, say here, and you can see when you just click, it makes a straight line, but as you drag at that point, it's going to create an arc for you. The benefit of this is that when you're working like in this area over here, it's just one big swooping arc, and so you want to make as little work for yourself as possible and not try to trace with the lasso tool and get this really jaggedy edge. It's just not fun. I really should have picked a better image. This is low res and driving me crazy. But anyway, with the pen tool here, like I said, what you do is you would click on a point, and then you want to try to use as few points as you can, but to make as accurate a selection. So I'm going to see if we can get like down here. I'm going to click, and you just drag it down until you kind of have gotten that selection. The nice thing is, you can see I have not got a perfect selection here. I still have red pixels outside of my pen origin. If you hold the command key and click on a point, you can actually shift the location of your selection without losing anything. Unlike the lasso tool, you can click shift, but don't forget, because if you do, start all over. It's a lot of fun. So, and then if that is not enough to get you your perfect selection still, you can see I have some black here. If you hold the Alt key and you click on these anchor points, you can actually adjust the curvature itself of the line. So I can come out here and get a lot closer. This one here, between the 2 points, will adjust the curvature, and then this one down here is kind of like a trajectory point. So the best way I can explain it, I guess, is if I were to have that trajectory point come out here, say, and then click to continue on this car, you can see how the arc starts to, right here, go out like toward that point. And we don't want that, because now you're going to have this area selection. So the goal is, with the pen tool here, to use the Alt key and drag this here, like going the direction of where you want your next arc to be, and then click to make another arc. And see now, so now like you can see here that this trajectory is going this way. So if I were to try to click here on this tire, it's not gonna work. You can see it's wanting to kind of do like this S curve, like my spine. Yeah, we don't like that. So use the Alt key here and drag it toward the wheel. Scroll down a little further and go about as far as you think you're going to be able to, and just drag. And you can see I'm missing a little part of that tire there. I do want to try to get that a little bit better. As I said, this is a low-res image, so I am having a lot of pixelation, which you don't want in your image. Again, we're going to drag this trajectory point here and try to do another selection there to get this tire. And you just keep doing that all the way through. Now, I'm going to go ahead and finish this real quick, just because I want to show you the actual real benefits of the pen tool. The other thing is, see here, I just made one line. Now, it's not absolutely perfect, but I did one line and got a perfectly straight cut. That's just really, really tough to do with the lasso tool. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't want to waste my time trying to do it. So, there, pen tool. Then I'm going to try to go here, make another trajectory there. If you click a point and you don't have to like drag, you don't have to worry about the trajectory angles. You just click the next point and go. This one, I had to drag a little bit, so I got to reset my trajectory. And do that there, reset my trajectory here. And then that one there, I just clicked, so I don't have to worry about adjusting anything, and we'll just use the pen tool there to make a little bit of an arc. Keep going. Straight line there. That's going to be an arc. Adjust my trajectory. I think I can make that curve happen pretty well. Yeah. Now, you don't necessarily have to worry either about getting absolutely perfect selection, because you can use some tools to refine your edge. In fact, it is called Refine Edge, which will allow you to modify your selection after it's been made. So here, I'm going to try to get that there. And I'm almost done here, guys. Sorry, this is taking a little bit of time, but you can see this does take a little bit longer than a lasso tool, but when I finish this, and I can explain this next part too, your mind is going to be blown as to why this is such a good option as opposed to doing a lasso, because once I have this path created, it's actually permanently saved in my Photoshop document. So unlike a lasso tool where you make a selection, even if you get it absolutely perfect, your selection, if you say you wanted to come back to that point later and like reselect that area, you'd have to do it all over again. You'd have to make it all over again. With the pen tool, and I'm just killing myself that I didn't figure this out earlier, but you know what? You live and learn, and so hopefully I'm going to be able to teach you guys something that will save your butts. Okay, so there. I've finished my selection. As you can see, unlike the lasso, I have no marching ants around it. You can't see what I have selected and what I don't. But in the layers panel over here, and if you can't see that, you just go to Windows and then layers, layers, and that will show it. That will also show you channels and paths. But what I've just done is made a path with my pen tool. So if I come over here, you can see that it's called work path by default. It will always be called work path by default when you finish one. You can double click it and rename it, so I can call it car, and you can see that white outline shows you the car. So if I right click on here and say make selection, I can feather the radius, which just means to blur my selection a little bit so that I don't have such a hard crisp line. So I always feather at least one or two, kind of depends on your pixels. Actually, I'm not going to do it on this one because I have such heavy pixelation, but see, now I have that selected. This is where it's awesome. Every time now I want to visit that car, and this is really good for people who do a lot of like digital painting. I do that a lot, and I can't tell you how many times I'll like want to select like a window or something that I might be painting, and I do not want to go in and reselect it every time. Paths will allow you to make multiple selections throughout an image. So I could select this area over here, and that would be a path. The car could be a path. The floor could be a path. And when I could come back and just re-click here, it would reselect that area for me without me having to redo the work. So now I have this selected. I could come down here, say to hue, saturation, adjustment layer, and just change the color of that car. Like, no big deal. And then if I want to, well, that looked really ugly, but whatever, I don't care about that right now. So I have this hue saturation layer that's changing the color of that car. So say I come over here and I make another layer and I'm just drawing and having fun and I'm kind of farting around and whatever. And I've done 50,000 steps on this image. And I decide later on, you know what, I really just don't like the color of that car anymore, and I want to revisit that selection. Okay, well, I guess I have this hue adjustment layer, which is going to allow me to modify that at any time in that scenario, so that's maybe not the best situation, but say I didn't do that. Because I had that selected and I made the adjustment layer, it's automatically masking that, but whatever, I'll delete that. So, okay, I've just done all these things, and now I want to revisit that selection. I just go to Path again, right-click it here, make selection. No feathering, boom, look at, I got my car selected again. I didn't have to do any work all over again. It's already there, it's perfect, I know it is. If I want to make a copy of that car, well, look at, see? Now I can transplant, I can cut out all the rest of the details of there, and I have a car with like really crisp, pixeled, blocky lines, and no, I could just take this car and put him into another document and then make it look like he was driving down a road or something. So that's the pen tool, and if you have any questions or want to know more about it, just let me know and I'll be glad to explain. Okay, bye.